Listen, I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. The playoff stuff can make your head spin. I feel like we've been having the same discussion for 10 years. The system changed, and we still all try to prognosticate about things that nobody has any clue about. And we're going to get to Saturday, and some weird thing's going to happen, and it's going to cause some weird result that nobody saw coming, and everything that we've written and talked about is going to be useless. Welcome to another discussion here at cleveland.com. He's Bill Landis. He's Ari Wasserman. I'm Doug Maurice. We're going to talk about the playoff possibilities for Ohio State, but I don't know what to believe. So who wants to go first? Who has strong thoughts? Yes. Ari's always got strong something. I guess we could talk about what could happen. I guess maybe I'm more interested in like what you think is going to happen, because we know there's like a million dominoes that could fall depending on the results. Like, what do you think the results might be, and then what dominoes would fall?
I think Alabama is going to embarrass Florida. I think Clemson is going to beat UNC, and I think the four teams that, and then Michigan State is going to beat Iowa. So you're going to have the same top four, except Michigan State will replace Iowa at 4. So that's what I think is going to happen. Ohio State will go to the Rose because I believe Iowa will fall behind Ohio State with their one loss. And that's the way it's going to happen. And, you know, you want to root for chaos. I think in the video you're going to have to say what you think is the guaranteed way that they would go. Because there's a lot of, you know, nobody really knows what it is, but you said, and Doug's an expert on this, but
I'm not. I'm a fake expert.
I'm an expert. If Alabama loses and, what was the other one? And Stanford loses, then Ohio State would move in because there probably isn't very many other options, if any, to go in there. But I do think that North Carolina, and this is the thing that makes my head explode, has a better, with a hypothetical win over Clemson, has a better chance of moving into the top 4 than Ohio State does.
Here's the guarantee, because there would be no other option, is Clemson wins, so North Carolina's out as a possibility. Alabama loses, Stanford loses. So then you have Clemson, the Big Ten championship game winner, Oklahoma, and you literally have no one else. There's like nobody else to go. It has to be Ohio State, because if North Carolina beats Clemson, then you could send North Carolina and Clemson. You know, and then if Stanford's around, Stanford, a lot of people think might jump Ohio State. That's the guarantee, is that scenario. Nothing else is a guarantee for Ohio State. So, Bill, we'll get a little more theoretical with you. We talked to the Buckeyes on Wednesday. Obviously, they're making playoff cases for themselves. Like, when you hear Ohio State try to make a playoff case, does their case hold water? Obviously, they're going to say it. Are there parts of the Ohio State playoff case that you buy? Just sort of on the idea of, in some way, shape, or form, maybe even right now, could they be considered one of the 4 best teams in the country?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've said all year, even though they haven't been playing well, I don't think there's anyone in the country who rivals their talent. Maybe Alabama, and that's it. Ohio State has, for the entire season, had the best players on its roster. So I'll buy that bit, but they had their chance, man. They had to beat Michigan State, and they didn't do it. So whatever happens to them, they have to take it, and I think they're sort of using that mindset as much as they don't want to. But, yeah, I mean, they can do all the lobbying they want, but they have zero control over what happens. And having the best players, I don't think is necessarily going to work in their favor in a huge way unless chaos happens like you just laid out.
All right, quick question sort of related to this. If you believe that 2 of the best 4 teams in the country are in the same division in a conference, example, Ohio State and Michigan State, do you think that those 2 teams should be in the 4-team playoff, or do you think that it is more understandable, better for the game, more fair, whatever, if you go with 4 conference champions? How much do you think the conference championships should weigh in that scenario? We're not asking, do we think Michigan State and Ohio State are 2 of the top 4? We're saying, if you thought that, then what should the committee do?
No, I think that there is room for having 2 in the right scenario, because there's 5 power conferences and there's only 4 spots, so people are going to get left out anyway. And if it's about identifying the 4 best teams, then I think that's a possible scenario. Now, I mean, I'm not going to talk about Ohio State, Michigan State, but I do think that there is room for that to happen if things match up the right way.
Would you agree with that?
I would. I think there's possibilities for a conference championship to not mean very much at all. I mean, if Ole Miss didn't lose again, they would be in the SEC title game. And if they were a 3-loss SEC champion, that means not very much to me. So, yeah, I think it's very possible. And I wouldn't be up in arms if the Big Ten East got 2 teams in if there's multiple lost conference champions and Ohio State's only loss is to the other really good team in this division.
Speaking specifically about this year, I don't think Stanford should be in no matter what. Because I think if you lose twice and both of your losses are kind of bad losses, even if you're a conference champion, I think that was just to add on to what you said about Ole Miss. I kind of think that kind of happened.
I don't know if their losses are bad. I mean, their losses are both the teams that are like in the top 20.
I think once you start getting into 2 losses, that's kind of when the conversation changes.
It's so hard. I think the one thing that's going to happen eventually in all this is that everybody's going to play a better non-conference schedule. We're still in that era where people are adjusting to wanting better non-conference schedules because they're seeing that the committee's kind of demanding that. And I wrote this that, Ohio State and North Carolina in 2012, if you looked at Ohio State's projected schedule, they were supposed to open this year with North Carolina. So, it's sort of not North Carolina's fault. There is the idea, just like with Ohio State, it's not Ohio State's fault. So that's, I think, the thing that is difficult is when you are getting penalized for a schedule that sort of is not your fault. Now, Ohio State's, it's not their fault that a bunch of teams in the Big Ten are bad. And North Carolina, it's not their fault that a game got dropped and they ended up having to kind of shuffle stuff around and they wound up with 2 FCS teams. So it's sort of like, how good are you? I think to keep penalizing North Carolina, again, it's like, yes, that's true, but are we saying that if they had played Indiana instead of North Carolina A&T, they wouldn't have beaten them, but somehow they'd be more worthy of the playoff? I don't know. It makes my head hurt sometimes.
And the Virginia Tech thing we've written about a few times.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State scheduled Virginia Tech when Virginia Tech was like one of the best 10 or 15 programs in the country, and they went whoop on the way to this 2-game series. Oklahoma, week 3 next year. We won't be doing this because it'll be a lot more figured out. Okay, playoff talk. If you like it, that's more playoff talk. If you hate it, you can shut this off and just wait till Saturday and go bury your head in some pillows. Bill Landis, Ari Wasserman, I'm Doug Lesmerises for cleveland.com.